there's so many people with stories similar to yours that's not shared, and very often these stories are an inspiration to the next generation too, right?
Right, yeah.
So that is also important. So besides being selfish, where we tell these stories for our own benefit, where people could reach out to us, so that we can increase our value, it's also so important to share these stories so that others could just, because a lot of young people, they're not looking at the right places for inspiration and for direction, that sort of thing. So I think sometimes it's so important for all of us, just for them to see that path, because sometimes they see where you are now, but they don't know where you came from and all these struggles, you went through to get there.
Yeah.
A lot of young
Everybody just
people
sees the glamour.
see the glamour and they want to get there now. No, and that's part of our problem, the problem we're going through right now.
Podcast world, welcome to another episode of The Value, the language of business for those of you seeking to build companies that are scalable and highly valuable. I am your host, Kevin Valley, and joining me today is my co-host, Jason Valley, serial entrepreneur with over 25 years of experience operating at the intersection of technology and business analytics. Jason, how are you doing, sir?
I am good. How are you doing, Kevin?
I cool. I just put on the purple light because our guest has a purple light today, and I wanted to be just like I wanted to be cool like her. I wanted to be cool like Samantha Best, mother, wife, author, consultant, and insurance agent, and well-known media personality, a very busy lady. She's the author of the Balanced Block Method, a guide to improving time management and productivity. And right now she is focused on helping professionals to work smart and make more money. Because who doesn't want to make more money while working smart? Samantha, how are you doing this evening?
I am great. Thank you for having me here, guys.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you. Actually, it's funny because after our last interview, Jason and I were talking about, okay, who you want to have next? And Jason's like, oh, how about Samantha John? I was like, who's Samantha John? He's like, oh, well, probably Samantha Best. You might know her, Samantha Best. Okay. And then like an hour or so later, Samantha messages me on LinkedIn and says, hey, Kevin, congratulations on your work anniversary, because I have so many roles. I don't know which anniversary she's talking about. But I was like, okay, cool. Thank you. How are you, Samantha? How about you? Do you want to do a podcast? She's like, okay, let's go. So here we are. All right. So Samantha, you spent over 12 years in media, right?
Over 22 years.
Over 22 years, right?
Yeah.
And I thought you were 22 years old. All right. So
thank you.
You spent over 22 years in the media, but there's not much information in the public domain about your life before that. But of course, I'll find what was your life before that, right? I understand that before that, your family, you come from a family of business owners, of entrepreneurs. Can you give us a little background there?
My father's family owned an insurance company. It's called Motor and General. So, the discussion in the household was always about one day you'll work in the office, at the company. And that was just did not sound pleasing to me at all. So I think I always had a marker that I did not want to do it. Because of the company, we lived in Barbados for a few years, and Jamaica.
Oh, yeah?
And then we came back to Trinidad, maybe when I was about 8 or 7 or something like that. Schooled in Trinidad. We lived in the west of the country, and still, they will discuss working in the company when you get older. And I would come up with dramatic alternatives that I wanted to do. So I used to find that saying a marine biologist sounded really fancy. So I was like, oh yeah, I'll be a marine biologist. And then at one point in time, we had troublesome cars. So I was like, oh my gosh, no, I'm going to be a mechanic, so I could always have a car that's working. And my father would make a joke about, no, not with those long nails. You can't be a mechanic. He always had gave me an obstacle of why I couldn't do it. I never really focused definitely to say this is what I was going to grow up to be. About that time when I was getting ready to get into the workforce, and I was in St. Vincent at that point in time, and I came back and the family had discussions about me opening a branch for the company there. And I had started to take insurance courses. I worked locally in the company for about a year or two in underwriting and in the claims department, which was unusual. And they found I did good in claims because I had a good relationship with the customers. We had like the plexiglass between us because customers could get really agitated when they come to make their claims.
Yeah.
And it wasn't always like, a nice experience, but I actually had a very good experience in the claims department. I also worked independently with my father, servicing one of the branches in the Jacob Martin area. So I did that for a while. But I was always thinking that I wanted to do something in media. So while I was in St. Vincent, because of my Trinidad accent, apparently I spoke a little clearer. They considered me speaking clearer than some of the others, the locals. And this is when the internet was like now sparking. So there was a particular time they wanted to introduce gambling online in the UK. And because of the laws, they were unable to do it. So they had a company and some entrepreneurs, they set up an online, almost like it was roulette game, broadcasting from St. Vincent. And I was one of the persons that they hired. So I was this online croupier, spinning the ball, calling out the numbers. And with that, they gave us voice training with an American girl, which was interesting. And she made a comment that I was the clearest speaker, most well-spoken. So it kind of sparked something in my mind about doing something with my voice. And while I was there, they only have one TV station with like a 10-minute newscast at that time in St. Vincent.
Mhm.
And the people I was staying by was saying, you could actually present our newscasts here, maybe be on TV and stuff like that. So I was like, that was pretty interesting. That was also something that maybe sparked a little bit of interest about broadcasting with me. But I'm thinking it was like a hidden thing about the broadcasting. Because it was like just there, like in the background, subconsciously. So I came back to Trinidad actually taking those comments into consideration and started to pursue, how do I get into broadcasting? So at the time in Trinidad, the only thing that was available there were some short courses. People did broadcasting short courses. So I enrolled in one. It was like a 3-month course, maybe once for the week. And I would say it was an enlightening experience because when I finally did get into broadcasting, I realized it prepared me nilch for what was required to be a broadcaster, a
See,
professional
media experience,
broadcaster.
the technical thing from the course is just what, icing? What would you say?
Well, I would say that particular course was very more motivational. So it was more of a course that if you were thinking about getting into media and and you had no idea what to do, or maybe you felt you lacked confidence, or you went like 100% there, that was the place to get amped up. It did not for me because I was already amped up. So it did not provide for me all the technical skills. It didn't describe for me anything about the business, really what is required, like your working hours or what your pay would be like. Everything I discovered when I finally got into broadcasting over the years. And you didn't get all that information at once. It kind of was fed to you like with enough curiosity. But the interesting thing was that when I did say I was doing the course and then I started to apply for jobs, it took me like 2 years of sending out demos to local radio stations. So you would like do your demo on a cassette, which we paid additionally for at the course. And you sent it out and sometimes you got no response, like at all. And then there were the instances where somebody will mail back the cassette to you and say, thank you for applying. So I don't know which one was worse, not getting any response or getting the rejection with thank you for applying. Here's a cassette, you can have it back.
Take back
right?
your little cassette.
Yeah, so it was like, I couldn't figure out, which was a good one, which was a bad one. So I did that for a while. and I went to many auditions. I think I went at the time it was Trinidad Broadcasting Company, and those would be the radio stations at GML, which is GML now, Guardian Media. And I went a couple times. They give you a script to read. They put you in a room. An operator records your voice. And I think by the second or third audition, I got noticed by someone who did the recording. He was a chief engineer at the time, and he had lost his daughter like a year or two before. And he kind of got drawn to me because he said I reminded him of her. But he also thought that he found I had good potential. And he kind of gave me some hope. And whenever he didn't give me any constructive criticism because I wasn't his department, but he kind of let me know this is how you get your foot in the door. That the procedure is, if you pass the audition, we're going to put you on this kind of freelance rotation roster. When we call you, once you could come in, you'll get paid. This is how you'll start. This might be once for the month, once every 2 months. But he was like, take the opportunity. And then from there, you see where you can move next. And that was like invaluable information because I had no idea what, even if I got like the next call after the audition, what was going to happen, what will take place. So because of that, I probably did a couple more auditions before they called in like 20 people and said, okay, we're putting all of you on this freelance rotation for Radio Trinidad. This is radio 7:30 a.m. And when we call you, hopefully you'll come for work. So we have no idea what time the shifts are going to be. We don't know when they're going to call. They just have your contact info. And I don't even think I didn't have a cell phone yet. Basically, people didn't have cell phones. So hopefully you were just sitting by the phone, waiting to get this call or this opportunity, because it's still an opportunity. There's no contract with you with the radio station. There's no documentation. It's just going to be a phone call and you'll get to work. So like out of those 20 people, maybe like 3 or 4 of us got calls and were able to come to work because people had jobs. I was not working at the time. I had a young baby at the time. So I was home. So I was near the phone and they would call. And as you became more dependable, or I used to call myself the emergency girl, you became more dependable, you probably might get a call 10 minutes before shift starts or 15 minutes that the announcer can't come to work. Can you come? And I would always say yes.
But how does that logistics work? Yeah.
What time of the day was that also?
Well, there used to be a 4 o'clock shift, like an afternoon shift that particular presenter would call in for and say he couldn't come to work. So because of that particular shift, after a while, like, I think that was like, yeah, that was probably the only shift actually. And maybe on a Saturday, he used to call in for work quite often. Every now and then. So I kind of always knew it would have been that shift. Because I had a baby, graveyard is almost like initiation for radio presenters. But because I had a baby, I stated up front that I couldn't come because I had a young baby. So I wouldn't be able to do a graveyard. The shifts were like 6 hours long. So it's not like today, they were like 6 hour long shifts.
3 hours, maybe 4.
Right. But there was 6 hours, sometimes 7 on the weekend, basically. And when you came, that's when you learned to use the studio. So what happened? They had these paid programs with different organizations and churches would come in, and normally somebody from the church would operate the board. And you were kind of just observing, making sure that they did everything right. So they kind of taught me, and I kind of taught them. And for a while, the announcer on duty would be there and they would kind of teach you how to operate and use the studio, because we had a lot of equipment back then. We didn't have the computers, so we still had vinyl records, 8-track machines for commercials and for the news, huge board. We had a DAT machine, cassette recorders. So it was like a whole army of equipment.
You said so much in that short piece of time. One AM radio, right?
Yeah.
Kevin, you ever listen to AM radio?
By mistake once. I think I was looking for a station. I was like, what's this noise?
That's one. 2, I think I do remember back in the days when the churches will have a program. The church will have an hour. So therefore, you weren't a presenter. You were also like a supervisor. Like, what was your role? Because you wasn't a presenter. You were just there.
Yeah, so I actually have to give up my seat behind the board because they would normally, somebody from the organization would normally come to present and operate for them. Right. So you just kind of make sure that they were doing everything right, look over them. Sometimes they got to leave the studio because they knew what they were doing. So you might go and hang out in 9-5 with somebody else or by vibe or, take long bathroom breaks because they knew what they were doing. But you were basically there representing the company as a supervisor, making sure that everything went well. And the funny thing about that, when I got that particular job, so I went and I was very close to my grandmother. I used to spend a lot of time with her, like during vacations, July, August vacations, Christmas. And I went to her and I said, hey, Granny, I'm getting this job. I'm going to be on the radio. And she's like, yeah. Stuff like, what do you mean? Yeah. She's like, I'm not surprised. And then she comes out with this box that's filled with these TDK cassettes. They're like 60 minutes and 90-minute cassettes, right? And these cassettes, and I kind of forgot about them, right? But when we spent time with her. She had a tape deck and she used to encourage us to record ourselves on these cassettes. But the majority of the cassettes were filled with my voice. And I was singing jingles. I had like made up commercials that I was performing, doing newscasts. And she was like, yes, she's like, in her mind, this was what you were born to do because you were always doing it. So this is like me, like from 10 years old, and she has all these cassettes with my voice on it and stuff. So it's like, I used to think that if somebody actually did see that potential and say, yeah, this is what you're supposed to be doing, but I kind of found my path almost like secretly. Like I went and pursued it without any, real encouragement, I'd say, from anybody else. But I would say that my grandmother encouraged me because she had me recording all these cassettes and stuff. So that was a kind of like a surprise and a reveal thing to me that, when you see a child with a skill, it's basically to nurture it.
Granny's really know best, man. So your family had this background, had this business insurance that was going all across the Caribbean. And here you are venturing into your own media career. Aside from your granny, how did the rest of your family take it?
My father was kind of like, does this thing make any money? That was his main question. I was like, no, it doesn't. But, I want to do it. So he's like, okay, cool.
Oh, it doesn't make money?
No. Not really, no. Not in like the real sense of the words. I mean, when I told him like how much I was getting, he's like, okay, yeah, this is, but he didn't discourage me from doing it. I guess if that line alone could have been a discouragement, but I was like, so behind, this is what I want to do.
Okay.
So, but he didn't like say, yeah, do it, but he didn't say not do it. He just brought up the line about it not paying that well. I was just always the kind of person, I didn't feel like I needed like a cheerleading squad to do anything. So once I had set my mind to do it, I was doing it until something else really maybe put an obstacle in my way. Right. I guess he was supportive enough. He lent me the car to go to work. So I had his car to go to work. So that I guess was silent support in itself. So I did that for a while, but I moved quickly. So I was on Radio Trinidad, and in about 6 months' time, I was already trying to figure out how to go across to the studio next door, which was 95.1.
I want to hear about your debut, because I understand you had this big, remarkable debut.
From what I'm hearing, though, I didn't realize you're a real foundation, like presenter and journalist, because somebody who's on AM. I don't know how many people around in Trinidad right now worked on AM radio. There's not that many who's still around.
AM was like, it was superior in itself because it was the band that if you were in Grenada, you could actually pick up Radio Trinidad.
Right, yeah.
So it was able to cross like long distances. That was like what was special about the AM brand. The frequency was bigger and larger, so it could go over mountains and it could travel further. So because of that, it was going further. It was popular. Radio Trinidad was a very popular station. It was branded inspirational, but it also had talk programs like current affairs talk programs in the morning with Edison Carr. Selma Ayi was our program director.
You know those names?
I recognize it from Samantha saying it, but not. Well, all right, I am young.
And AM was also, to me, like you almost felt as though AM was the real journalism, and
Yeah.
FM was I just radio, I just music, as you know, AM was like serious
So
business.
AM was like textbook journalism.
Yeah, the proper journalists, not people who say poo poo and that.
Oh God, don't do that. Flush them down the toilet.
It has this thing almost like what's equivalent to social media now. So when FM came out, it was the frequency where it was better for music than for voice. That was the thing. So AM was the master at, broadcasting voice. So what happened was that all the more veteran presenters, some people might interpret it that they packed them away on the AM band. So all those veteran presenters ended up on the AM band because everybody was excited about FM, and FM were the music stations.
Right.
They were the stations where the DJs were showing up. It was like a new type of radio, basically. That's where the fun and the hype was. Right. So what happened was that, so they had the AM. That's why it was like easier for me to start working there. It's like nobody was rushing to be on Radio Trinidad, basically. So that's where the opportunity came. So I was on Radio Trinidad for about 6 months, and then I started to think about, because I grew up listening to 95.1.
What year are we talking?
Probably 2001.
Okay.
Or something like that.
And I almost went forward to 2006. Okay. All right.
Like, 2001. Yeah. I thought it was over 20 years, guys.
I remember she started this thing when she was 10 years old.
Yes, of course. Right? Definitely. In the womb. Don't forget, in the womb. Right? So I was like, trying to figure out, how do I get on 95? This is the station I grew up listening to. This is where I really wanted to work, on 95. And I befriended like technical staff. I was really, I looked for support because I wanted to really learn what the business was. So I was, good with technical staff, people in control. And I was like, how do I get on 95? And somebody was like, oh, you're rushing it. Take your time. Take your time. You can't reach there yet. I can't remember what happened. I think there was an opportunity in the morning. They had called it the morning zoo, where they were looking for a co-host, a female presenter.
I remember the morning zoo.
Because I was it was Richard Graham at the time. And because I was in the building, somehow I got to have the conversation, and I expressed that I would have been interested. And I got there with very even smaller pay. Because they really didn't want to pay anybody, but I somehow negotiated to get to be there for an even smaller pay. And I did the entertainment news, and I spent a couple hours with Richard and stuff.
I just laugh at that. That's not a good business decision, though. Yeah, you probably shouldn't have told your dad that, right? Because dad negotiated to get less money.
Yeah, but it was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be on FM, right? You could, your radio picks up FM. It's gonna be easy to listen to me, right? You don't have to switch bands. And I was there with Richard Graham for a while. I think they took me back up, but I was still working Radio Trinidad. That was like, what I was leading on, because by this time I'm doing enough shifts. I'm getting like a consistent salary, if that's what you want to call it, but some consistent pay.
Mm-hmm.
And while I'm doing that, I realize I need technical help, as in support, because I have no idea how to grow this craft. So I have like a small voice, don't know anything about my technique. My colleagues like Jim Sutherland are very theatrical. So when he speaks to me, I have no idea what he's telling me and how he's directing me. I need somebody to translate this into English. So I enrolled in the Trinidad Theatre Workshop, and they had an educational program that had started up where they form 4 and 5 literature books. They take them and they rewrite them into small like plays, and our troupe will travel around the country to the schools, and we would present their literature books on stage as characters for them. So because I did this, another thing with a very small pay or stipend, I basically got free stage training as an actress. So they taught me how to project my voice so that people in the back of Little Carib could hear me. How to build confidence, how to build character training. We did accents. I was never good at accents. So That was like I would say some fantastic training, being in theater, being an actress, seeing parts of the country that I would have never seen because they packed us up in a maxi and carried us to wherever a school was that you didn't even know a school existed in Trinidad. So that was a very interesting experience, which I would be able to bring those skills back into the studio. So then I'm there on 9/5. I'm now part of the theater community. So I have a new network that I'm working with. So I'm doing plays alongside on the radio, which was great supplement for branding.
Who are some of the persons you might have done plays with that we would know, that some of the well-known one?
Well, Jason might know, but Kevin might be too young to know.
Nigel Scott. I worked with Penelope Spencer. I worked with Raymond Chukong. I did 2 plays with Raymond Chukong. UWE's Creative Arts Theatre, Ifibu Wilkinson. We did Moon on a Rainbow Shore. That was a fantastic experience. Gosh, there's so many people.
You ever went to play in Trinidad?
Yeah. Just the other day I went to a play in Tetra Bank. I know you're trying to shine me up, you know, Jason. I culture, you know.
Clifford Lemond. So I was in that circle. I didn't act with Nikki Crosby, but because of theater, it's like we knew each other even before I got to the frequencies where she was working at. So I was like part of the community and almost in another part of the network, basically. So that was really good. I had like a newspaper review and it was like, apparently it was terrible. I didn't realize it was terrible. I just thought it was great publicity. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in the papers. It's like, 3 pictures of me. Okay, cool, whatever, you know? And I was
bad publicity, good publicity.
And that was actually a thing that I like teach and I think a lot of like people who are getting into media or getting into some sort of entertainment, they've learned that over the years, that you need to have like layers and be have multi-skills and be in different places and not just doing one thing to build your brand. So back then that wasn't really a common thing, but I was doing it and it was just happening naturally. It wasn't like intentional, but it was happening naturally, and I was starting to see and make the connections and make the dots and seeing where it was working. Because I think being in theater and being on the air, that was something that helped propelled me past people who were on the air for years and were not going anywhere. They were in the same place.
Because they weren't multidimensional, right? Then, at least with you're multidimensional. There's so many different aspects of you that allows people to see, you'll appeal to a wider audience also, being multidimensional.
Yeah, she had that background that she lived in Barbados, St. Vincent, Grenada, and all that, so she knows how to make relationships with different cultures and different types of people.
Yeah, so it was good because and then it allowed the people who needed to see you, like your superiors and your bosses, to notice you, because somebody would have been on the air probably working a shift every Saturday for about 5 years, and nothing was happening to their career because that's all they did, and they weren't stepping outside of that shift or being seen or weren't getting noticed. So I would normally take every opportunity. They did outside broadcasts. I would go with things that other presenters had found that they no longer needed to do because they're past that stage. So I was like really eager and gung-ho to do a lot of the things. I picked up producing when I started on 9/5. So I produced for the morning show. I think that also added to my CV. And then I also produced for Vibe CT 105 and Sangeet all at the same time while being a presenter on 9/5 and then by Vibe CT 105. And it was then by Vibe, I think I got by then I had got like a TV stint or 2 by OCM. I did Soundstage. It was like a talent show, and they did it in the amphitheater at the National Library. They would have just done like a few episodes, like seasons. So I got 1 season to do as a co-host. And that's when apparently I got noticed by the program director at WeFM, which was 96.1 FM. And I got a call about them being interested in hiring me. And I was like, yeah, this is so exciting. This is great. This is it. Because, this is like 96 was number 1. It's like, and I had no idea even thinking about 96. And then it just went silent for like 6 months. I did nothing. I'm like, I'm waiting for this call. when do I get to start? I want to be able to tell somebody something and I'm not hearing anything. And then 6 months later, then they call and they say like, okay, we're ready and we could start talking and whatever. I spent like a year on 96.1, and at the same time I was there, I was kind of gung-ho to do some TV work. Before 96, I did a Catcher. I don't know if you know about that. It was like a
Catcher?
local candid camera that they
Jason, you
aired
know
on
about that?
TTT.
Maybe vaguely.
Yeah. Because
Okay.
I had kind of reached a point that I was doing so much. I had done theater. I had done this stint by TV6, and I was just feeling like I was ready to do some TV as well, because I was feeling a little one-dimensional just being on the radio. And so I got this gig as a presenter for like a couple episodes of this local candid camera called a Catcher that they showed on TTT. As I don't look fantastic in it. It was kind of funny. You have to go out and like do strange things, like do imaginary stuff. And
Is it episodes on YouTube? We'll look for it after.
thank goodness, I believe no, they have none. So I'm safe, right? So then I got to 96, and then Synergy is about to, you're hearing talk about Synergy TV
Mhm.
is about to come on stream, and I'm trying to figure out how do I get on Synergy TV. So I'm trying to make connections and calls. My boyfriend at the time, he knew Shell Shock very well, who worked with Marshall Montano. And we called Shell Shock twice. I'm like, Shell Shock, can you get me a meeting with Peter C. Lewis? And he's like, yeah, you just go and talk to him yourself. I'm like, what? No hookup here. You don't help me out, guys,
Nothing boy
whatever.
shell, boy. Okay.
Yeah, nothing. So eventually I did get the bravery, and I did go to the office, and I met with Peter for the first time, and I told him that I was interested in being on Synergy. And he was like, yeah, okay, cool. I imagine a lot of people were knocking on his door, so he was probably overwhelmed with the response. And then I got on 96. And after I got on 96, about a month later, Peter called. And he's like, you still want to come and work here? I'm like, yeah, that's a good idea. So I went, and I was an entertainment news presenter, and I also like wrote the news, and the news showed like every half an hour. So I had to record like a lot of them like in a day. So it was good practice. We didn't have prompters and stuff. It was like very makeshift because the station was now building. They didn't have a news department, so they didn't know what they needed at the time. And I did that for about maybe close to a year. And then I resigned from the position. And soon after that, TV6 called. So it's just like, okay. I mean, I'm not even making the connection. I just had a colleague who was at 96, who used to tell me when he watched Synergy that he could see me working on CNN, and I would just laugh. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. And then it was so strange. So then OCM calls and asks me, thinking that they want to audition, do something for Soundstage again. Say, no, we want you to come and do an audition for the news. So I'm like, okay. I'm a little confused because I had no interest in like presenting news. I wasn't mentally preparing for it. I was not actively preparing for it because I was in entertainment, right, on an urban station. And then, of course, I was by Synergy doing entertainment news. So this is like totally new. I started to overthink. Oh my gosh, do I want this job? What do I do? Whatever, whatever. I go to the audition, and it was one of the most comfortable experiences I've ever had doing broadcasting, because they had a real prompter. They had the studio crew directing you. They had lights that didn't take whole day to set up 3 lights. Lights were already prepared in the studio. It was just sit at this desk, read from that prompter. Here's your script, let's go. And everything just worked like clockwork. And I just felt like at home. It was just great. Now, I felt like that. I don't know if that was the actual result. I left there feeling pretty good. And the next day, I got a call from the head of news saying that they want me to come and present their 7 o'clock news. So I'm like, okay. Yeah. So I'm like, yes, like, okay, that was like the next day, I'm waiting probably like thinking weeks before anybody calls, or maybe if anybody calls at that. After a long back and forth, like a few months, because the offer was to start at 7, which is unprecedented at the time, because you do weekends first, you do some 12 o'clock newscasts, so you build yourself up, you get ready for 7. Nobody ever starts at 7, but they told me I would start at 7, which was the first time. Prime time, which is the first time they were ever going to do anything like that.
So is it that they wanted a fresh new face? Is it like why?
So at the time, because at the time too, CNC3 was in the works to launch at some point during that time, and some of TV6's veteran staff did crossover. So part of it, they still had like a couple of their normal everyday presenters were still there, but they were introducing new faces. And I was going to be a new face, basically. But the trade-off was that I was going to have to, like all the other presenters before me, only work for OCM and only be the face of the newscast. So I was not going to be able to do anything else, which would mean giving up radio altogether. Yeah, which was in my mind. I was going to be doing radio until, I croaked, right?
Well, if they want that exclusivity, the salary have to be high.
Yeah.
See, I'm laughing
Exclusive salary.
Yeah, that salary had to be
salary and benefits.
Because they want non-competes and all kind of stuff.
Oh, okay. Nice, guys. I should have spoken to you before.
Yeah.
So basically, yes, because of some of those trade-offs, and because it wasn't anything that I was mentally prepping for, I took like about 2 to 3 months before I even really responded to them or continue the conversation, because it wasn't something I was like rushing into. I spoke about it with my family for a long time. I thought about it. I don't even think I confided in anybody else in broadcasting, really. Everybody was external. Because of how the status people had for like the news, everybody thought it was a really good idea to do it. Little did I know, I accepted. Little did I know that because the news is held in such high status, that the pressure would have been so intense. As in, this was somebody new that the public didn't know. It was like, I kind of became like sorry to say, the public's punching bag in the beginning. It was all new to me. I made a lot of mistakes. I had a lot of things to learn, like with pronunciations. I didn't know the characters and the people that were being like identified in the news stories every day. So, and then the actual technical execution of the newscast is not smooth. So there are a lot of things that happen in the background, like, when you do like your hands up in the air and you want to scream, that happens like on a daily basis, probably every 2 to 3 minutes. So I not knowing like that landscape like very well and doing it even with all the rehearsals you could do only when you sit there live, because it is a live show. There's no delay, there's no pre-recording. Only when you sit there live, you have to learn to maneuver through that, including having to maneuver and learn different personalities, like of your producers. Like some people, some producers hate when you go off script. Some don't mind. You could come up with your own questions in between. Other people, it just don't like it, and it causes problems. So I had to learn each person individually by working with them.
If we were to put ourselves in that chair that you were in, where the light is on you, the camera is on you, you're about to do all of this, you're in the deep end, you're new to this, like you said, you don't understand the characters and all these things. Like, what are we seeing and how are we navigating all of this?
We're seeing a disconnect in the earlies. I was disconnected. I'm just like listening to instructions. I'm not connecting to the stories. So that means I'm not connecting with my audience. There's an obvious disconnect because I'm trying to concentrate on just getting it right so that, I don't get like a bad report when I walk up the set and people are not like frowning at me to get through the hour. So in that case, I have to sacrifice the performance or the craft. Basically, I can't even concentrate on that yet. Because it was so new and because it had so much pressure, there was a time I was just gonna quit. I'm like dressing to go to work and like I have like a total mental breakdown and I'm crying my eyes out. I'm like, I don't want to go to the building. Please just don't make me go back, basically saying I can't do this. It's too hard. But it was also, and for some reason, my superiors, and I mean my superior, like the head of OCM at the time, who used to come to the office, he called me and like almost like he knew, and he had like a real heart-to-heart conversation with me, and he was like, I see potential in you. I see the glassy look in your eyes. I think you could do really well. And that really even put on more pressure, because now I felt like I don't want to let this person down. This person is seeing something that I'm not seeing, apparently. And I really, I just felt like he just was so confident that I could do it, that I just put maybe even more pressure on myself to do it. Because now I realized I wasn't just doing it for me, and that there had other people who stuck their necks out to say, we want to use her to present the news. So I now realized that I had other people that they were supporting me, and I couldn't just let them down. So I really, I kind of sucked it up, and I said I was going to try harder. But in terms to do that, I isolated myself. So
let's hear about that isolation thing. Yeah.
So that isolation thing could translate into what content creators may go through now. So as in when they feel burnt out, so how platforms kind of deal with like things like comments. So like YouTube, you could filter your comments, because they actually said they did that because it was affecting the mental health of content creators. Right. And I totally understood that back then, because negative news, no matter how well you might be doing, travels faster than good news.
Yeah,
100%.
So you would get people call and say negative things when you come off the air. Somebody will give you a negative message about what their mother said that you did incorrect, before they say, you did a good job tonight, but this happened.
Everybody's a critic.
Basically. And like, it was like, I learned it was like, watching the news for mistakes was like a sport, right?
Yeah.
And we didn't have social media. So that means you actually got calls and you got messages, and sometimes you might have even got a letter every now and then if the person made the effort.
A letter.
Yeah. I always remember sometime we had a non-local news anchor. I can't remember what station it was, but person wasn't local. I think they were probably from the US or something. And we have institutions in Trinidad that have acronyms, and some of the acronyms you say the letters and some of them I pronounce it. For example, WASA.
Mm-hmm.
That's WASA.
Mm-hmm.
TSTT, that's that TIST, right? But that person didn't know these things.
Oh no.
So for example, what is WASA? They say WASA. What is TSTT? They say, well, TIST. They
man.
Because they don't know. And when you think about that, you have to really be a local to know these things. And nobody, I doubt, when they have the teleprompter, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, but when they have the teleprompter, they don't put WASA and in brackets I put WAH-SAH, so to say that word as WASA.
No.
You have to actually just know that, right?
Yes. So you have to be of the culture.
Yeah, so people be like, what shit did he say? Where's WASA? Where's this? We talk about this.
No, technically he wasn't wrong, because, he could still follow. He might have been like technically right, but
But what I'm getting to, the critics, the people, those watching the news, they're gonna like be calling and criticizing. What this person saying? They're talking nonsense. They don't know what's up, blah blah blah. So I can see where even worse yet, if you're a local and you make any mistake, if you pronounce anybody's name a little wrong and that sort of thing. And in Trinidad, we have, so many different ancestries. You have people with French surname, Spanish surname, Indian surname. So if you're not familiar with the culture, you could, people just chew you up.
The thing people would do is that people would actually looking for the mistakes.
Yeah.
Because people will be operating at a high level, right? So Samantha would have been operating at a high level, speaking well, delivering the news, presenting the news in a good fashion. But they just looking for that one mistake. I say, we get her, and then they'll harp on that. Yeah, it's real pressure. It's really good that you didn't come up with the times of Instagram where people sharing the video. Look at this, look at that.
Oh, right, like that. Yeah, probably what I got might have been a little harsher, and so I had to like live through that. And when I did that, because I had to learn certain things. So like, for instance, when you're in the BBC newsroom, they have I can't remember, but it's almost like a style guide So BBC comes now, like the same things that you're saying, if to pronounce the acronyms, if to spell them out, they would have, and even like, some people say Sawa and San Juan. So what the newsroom at BBC would do, or any of those bigger newsrooms, they have a style guide where they decide these things up front. So when presenters and reporters come in, everybody knows this is how we say it here. This is how we have decided to say it. Unfortunately, we didn't have that. So when I would ask a producer, how do you want me to say this? Some of them might say, I'm not too sure, and kind of take it for granted. And then when I make like my decision and deliver it, and I get the reaction, then I will figure out, okay, this is not how I'm going to be saying this moving forward. So part of it is I had to internally come up with my own style guide. I learned to not depend on the producers or anything. We got some voice training and some pronunciation training about the I think it's the Universal Phonetic Alphabet. I used that, and I never took for granted. I was like constantly checking the dictionary for pronunciations. And over the years, a lot of the words that we probably mispronounce incorrectly, I was saying it in the correct fashion, and I got a lot of flack for that, but I stuck with it because I'm like, this is the standard I'm going with, and I'm going to keep it across the board, because this is how I'm going to have to perform at this level. I can't be doing the yo-yo, saying it one way and going back the next way. So I basically created my own standard of how I wanted to present myself and to speak make a universal decision about my delivery. So that for a long time.
So you maintain exclusivity with the with news, or so you had to give up your whole radio life?
But so I did that for like 3 years, and around the 3-year mark, or a little before the 3-year mark, I had grown kind of unhappy with just being on the air as a presenter, because I felt like I had lost my voice. As a presenter, you're unbiased, you're neutral, there's no opinion, no real color to your personality, which was something I was trying to sprinkle into news. So like things like even like moving your hands on the set, moving your head a little bit was like, that was a no-no. And I used to get
I would have never make it because I love to do it.
Kevin, we're doing not on this podcast.
Yeah, I
So, that was how I was, like, even like to do this. And they were like, why are you moving your hands? Or when they realized I wouldn't stop, they started to cut the shot like tighter, so they couldn't see it. But it still helps, because when you move your hands, you move your shoulders. But when you move your hands, you move your shoulders and your head a little bit, and it gives a little subconscious personality, like coming through the lens sort of thing. So I was doing little things like that, like, but I was getting so much kind of pushback on it. It was just feeling very restrictive. And I basically said, you know what, I'm going to just go back to radio. This TV thing was fun, but, it's not like, bringing this joy into my life. And when I did resign, OCM did ask me to stay on. This would be like 2009.
Okay.
Probably. So like I started in 2006, it was like 2009. And they asked me to stay on. They asked me what I wanted to renegotiate for our relationship. And I said, one of the things is that I want to be on the radio. And they're like, okay, because at the time I had an option of getting back onto a radio station.
So they're like, okay, we have a radio station, we can sort you out.
That actually never came up.
Kevin, how it does go.
But that actually never came up as part of the conversation for whatever strange reason. I might have been willing to discuss that. And I just said, if I'm staying, I want to be able to go back on the air and be a radio presenter as well. And they're like, okay, cool, whatever. Because the station I was going to start negotiating with didn't exist yet. So I think maybe they thought I was bluffing about going back on the radio, and I didn't really have like a plan to go back. So they agreed, and they said, yeah, you can go back. I think it's within the same year, I went to the radio station, and then I got a call from TV6, and they called me to a meeting, and they're like, so we see that you're working at this radio station. So I'm like, yeah, remember you all told me I could work at the radio station? And they're like, oh, okay, cool. All right, cool. Let's keep going, right? So it's like, so, things like that were
Oh my
happening.
God.
So I was by Star 947.
Mhm.
I was really excited about being there. It was a new station with Chinese laundry. It was going to be pop rock, which I really enjoyed because I like that type of music. And there I was Sammy Joe again on the radio mid-morning, and he presented me as, this is one of our most experienced presenters, announcers coming back. So basically, I was like there to help mentor anybody or whatever. I kind of, like coming back at that level into radio. The studio was beautiful, like top notch, beautiful digital board. We were the first RDS station, I think it was, where the names of the songs would come up on the screens and stuff. So it was like really exciting to be part of it. And so I did that like for about 5 years.
You had two brands. You had Samantha John on TV and Sammy Joe. And I'm sure a lot of people were confused. I know for one, I was confused. I didn't realize it was the same person. I thought it was two different persons.
I actually don't think they had that much confusion because people would see me out in news capacity, like, in my jacket and stuff, and they would refer to me as Sammy Joe. So I didn't realize that, maybe a few people were confused, but I think for the most part, a lot of people
Because it was different personalities, though. The news anchor personality was a very serious type of person, and the Sammy Joe person was a sort of more fun, kind of, that sort of
Was
thing.
I that serious? I was trying not to be as a news presenter.
Well, you couldn't move your hands.
What about the news you're doing that was fun? Wasn't entertainment news? Was
I remember they tossed the sport was always fun. So, hopefully you watched all the sports. If you watched all the sports, you would have seen that,
I watched the first 10, 15 minutes.
You see, you watch the more serious
hard
part.
news, and then once the murders, once the politics, and then we move on.
Jason taking the headlines and he gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, of course, it had a slightly different feel because you're vibing with music and but I still had to keep very mindful that I could not go back into radio exactly how I was, or how a lot of the presenters are, where they're opinionated and stuff. Because one, I'm working now at two different companies, which could be according to business arrangements, or maybe even things I say could become conflict of interest. And also, I have to be mindful that, yes, when I do go back to the station in the evenings, that I am the news presenter. So I can't contradict myself or my brand by being like, I wouldn't be able to be controversial. So I did go back to radio tamed.
Yeah.
Right. With some, and nobody had to tell me this. I just knew this is how it had to be to keep the balance and for me to be able to maintain doing this for as long as possible. I really enjoy listening to music. So that's why it was like a stress release thing. So I think that also helped keep me on the news desk longer because I got to have that balance where, I was doing this thing during the day that I really, really enjoyed for a long time. So I was at Star for like 5 years. I think I spent like, around that time, 5 more years by TV6. I got a short stint off, but around that time I had my son, so I was pregnant on the air. It was not a very, how do I say? It's not like how, if somebody is pregnant on the air as a presenter, how it's kind of like used like social media.
It's embraced.
Like embraced like that. It was kind of like, because, I was already breaking so much rules, the news was always so restricted. How it was presented. Most of the time, we had male anchors locally. They hardly wherever they had just a couple of females in between, like Francesca, Shelly Das, a caller every now and then was mostly males. So when I did say I was pregnant and started to show, I was almost like I felt like they didn't know what to do. Maybe they're thinking that maybe they should say something, maybe not. So it was never acknowledged on the air. But there was social media at the time, so I could have posted a picture, could have said something. So from that, people had figured out that I was pregnant on the air. So I had my son, and then I felt like that I went back, like, instead of taking 3 months maternity leave, I just kind of got bored being at home. And I went back like after 2 months. But when I went back, it didn't feel the same. And I felt, and my husband was having a hard time with the baby actually by himself in the evenings. So I just felt like, maybe it's hormones and stuff. It's just like, I started to think about things differently. Being at TV6, maybe I need to do something different. I need to try something different. So I basically got an offer and I resigned. And that offer kind of quickly turned into being at CNMG there. But they gave me, they gave me more opportunity, monetary wise. They also embraced that I was still on the air as a radio presenter as well. So that was encouraged. Also, it had a little more of a relaxed atmosphere there for a particular reason. It was also kind of nice being there because I had a lot of young staff that really had this feel that they wanted to be working at a high standard. So when I came, it was like an encouragement that, oh, Samantha's here. The news is being uplifted. Let's do this together, sort of thing. And I had that kind of embrace and feel that, yeah, we are a team. Y'all are supporting me. I'm supporting you. So that kind of gave a lot of excitement, like in the beginning, basically. Around that time, I did start to feel like it was too much, and I experimented. I left Star only because I felt by the time I had my son, my brand had changed. So Star was like, that young puppy feel.
What year are we in at this time? I'm just trying to map a timeline in my head.
So this could be like 2014, 2015.
Okay, so 2014.
Maybe
okay.
sort of thing. I had started like a blog. I was going to do a documentary about my pregnancy. So I have footage and stuff that I've never edited or anything like that. We have video of the birth. It was a water birth. And it was going to all centered around this. I started like an online radio station. It was called Baby Babble. It had a website to supplement it with blogs. And I was using the online station that was like set up like on the lower level of my house. And I had like a couple of people who wanted to be radio presenters. So I was kind of training them on my online station. So I had built the online station, like the back end of it and everything. And they would come and work shifts. Wow. Basically, and I listen to them and I kind of mentor them and say, yeah, you
so
need
you made
to
a
do this
business
and whatever.
also. So you started working in radio, then you decided, let me build my own radio station.
Yeah, because I felt like I knew so much about radio, like programming and everything, music programming and stuff. I just felt like I wanted to do it. And I didn't feel like the industry was going to give me that opportunity. So, and then I saw, I was like an online person. So I was seeing that you could start online radio stations, they had software there to do it. I had a radio board and a computer because I used to give broadcasting classes, physical classes, and teach people how to be on the air.
So that's based on all the technical courses you would have done from even before. So now they're starting to pay off.
No, well, that course was motivational. And any technical stuff I learned was actually in the studio.
Okay.
So I bought like the gold standard for radio boards was the Arrakis. So in these stations had the huge Arrakis boards, and then they started to make, because of online and podcasting was becoming popular, they have smaller boards that maybe just 16 channels, which is all you need, because most times the radio station buys a board that has like 20 channels and they use 3. So those were on the market, so it made it easy. So I bought that board to teach people how to be broadcasters. So I had it like over the years. And then when I decided to do the online station, I just used it on my online radio station. So it was set up, just like any other professional studio. I had a professional mic and everything. I programmed all the music.
You had the roadcaster mic, the road mic.
No, that's not a radio mic. That's a shotgun.
The shotgun. I thought I saw that in videos. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no. We have like the other ones, the big ones. That was something that kind of like amused me, and that's where I realized I could actually rebrand, because for the first time I would go out and people would not call me the girl from TV6. They actually started to refer to me as Baby Babble. And I was like, okay, that's really catchy. That's happening really fast. That's kind of interesting that, I could, rebrand. because
So
I had left
easily too,
TV6.
yeah.
Yeah, I had left TV6, and people still saying you're the girl from the news, right? You're the girl from the news. So that was my identity that, everybody used for me. And then I did Baby Babble, and it became, people would say, how's Baby Babble? And even up to now, people see me, so what happened to Baby Babble? You're still doing Baby Babble? So I was like, okay, cool. We did it for a while, the online, it evolved into a TV show. We decided that we wanted to do a TV show, and we did like about 8 or 9 episodes that aired on TV6. And then after it aired on Flow regionally, like it will be the season after, but we basically was a rebroadcast of the first season. It was really fun to do. It had, it grew as a content creator. It checked a lot of the boxes of things that I wanted to achieve, like having a TV show, letting it air locally. And also, it quelled a lot of curiosities where, like, if you have a show on TV, does it work? Can you make a lot of money? And that journey in itself also helped me, learn more about the business. Things that I was only wondering about, that I could only, guess about as a news anchor or a radio presenter. I got answers for when I produced the show and I put it on air and I let it run, and I talk to advertisers, or I talk to sponsors, or I try to make new connections to air the show. So it's like, that was a good journey in itself, basically. But I've said, been there, done that. And then I hadn't gone through the journey of like how to keep creating content. And the content I was creating was very extensive. So if somebody had an unusual preschool, we would actually go on location and shoot. And that could take all day. And it would basically, we're just, some of the people that and there were small businesses too. So sometimes when we aired a particular episode or segment, let's say we did a school in South, because they were a small business, they may not last that long. So even though 2 months later, somebody was trying to contact them because they saw the video, that it didn't exist anymore. So, I saw like, the longevity in producing those type of segments. I was wondering, like how much longevity would it have, basically. And then I was kind of running out of like some content ideas, and what content creators would describe now as burnout, because, it was a small team and I was doing the editing, the video editing. I was doing like a lot of
You
the
doing the editing?
functions. Yeah, I was doing the video editing too. So yeah, you kind of got burnt out. And then I was like, no, the baby's getting bigger and I can't have another baby, so I could figure out more content to make.
The babble ended. No more baby to babble.
No more baby to babble, exactly. I'm like, I'm making an next one just so I could get content. You know what I mean?
Well, it depends if it was a good business or not. If it's a good business, then
I will keep procreating. Right. Okay, I get it.
$1 million babies,
This is Babble season 4.
$1 million babies. Now, through this journey, because, so making Baby Babble was like passion, like all passion. Go back to like, if my father was still around, he'd be like, are you making money with this? And that's even like a conversation content creators have online. It's like, either it's a hobby or you learn to monetize it.
Yeah.
Right. And I can honestly say I had problems monetizing it. So, you get older and you realize that, how long can you keep a hobby chugging along for?
Yeah.
Basically. So during this time, there was like, after TV6, around by Baby Babble, there was a time that I did make a lot of money, like the most money I had ever made in my career. I was well paid at the time. This was when I was by CNMG. So, right. And basically, I had no financial education. None was passed on to me. No financial literacy. I didn't know what to do with the money.
Shoes, travel, Miami.
No, I didn't even do those. I did the things that people said expected you to do. Get a mortgage, buy a new car, those sorts of things. And, from my personal journey, it didn't turn out to be the best decisions.
Right.
It was strenuous decisions. It put a strain on my marriage, the bills, people keep saying, financial problems are like the strain on most relationships.
Yeah.
And I would say that, yes, I did experience that. So it was almost like, you know, they say more money, more problems.
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
kind of like we experienced that. And then coming out of that journey and trying to like regain yourself, took on Baby Babble, and then we just said, you know what, forget about the money issues, forget all the mistakes that we made with the money. Let's just get back to passion. And that's what we did Baby Babble for. It was to get back to passion, to get that passion back for being in media, for being in broadcast, for being content creators. But through that, I never really caught myself or regained myself financially, basically. And then COVID came, and that, you know, that amplified things. But the thing that got us through COVID was that we had some insurance policies that we were able to surrender that we didn't even remember we had or whatever. You just know you're in that time and you're back against the wall. your brain just starts going, right?
Yeah, what accounts to have?
Exactly. It's
The
like,
credit union.
yes, like, what do I have? I can't even find the policy. Let me call the agent. Let me see if I could find out something or whatever. And it was those policies we were able to surrender that we totally forgot about that we got like in 2006 and 2007, because we had a recording studio business together that we had started the policies since back then that were able to carry us through. And that's where I was like, oh my gosh, I'm on this financial journey and we have these insurance policies. We could use them to help us. And that's what they're there for, because we had the options to like take a loan against it or withdraw the cash, like end the policies and withdraw the cash. And together we decided to withdraw the cash so we could keep chugging along. And it was like seeing that and saying, oh my gosh, these products, this is so useful. Yet I didn't know I had it. And maybe if I knew I had it, when I was even making more money, I would have invested more into them.
You'll put more money into your life insurance.
Yeah. So that maybe I would have done even something different. I wouldn't have had to surrender the policies because, you know, I would have had enough that I could keep the policies going.
Right.
So, you know, I was just like, you know, I was like, this is so useful. Why is nobody telling us about this? Why do I have these policies? And I'm not using them to like my advantage. So it was from those experiences that I learned so much. I mean, I think even one was an annuity and it had to go to BIR. And I forgot that I had some outstanding taxes and that they had to take it back. I mean, this is even something that if you tell somebody I have an annuity, make sure your tax is up to date. Right. So, you know, so that was all part of the journey of, you know, even becoming almost like being self-taught of financial education. So during COVID was an interesting time. We released books on Amazon. We learned to use the platforms that were there for us. We did coloring books and children's books because we were homeschooling our children before COVID, actually. And when COVID came around, we were kind of stumped for education material. And
so you created your own?
Yes. So we did like
Boom.
So we did like handwriting books. Like there are 100 pages in them. And we did a coloring book that's 100 pages. And it's a multi-mix coloring book with the alphabet and shapes and different items. And it was so well received that there's actually a private preschool that saw the book. And the principal said she was always looking for a book like this, like that had the mixture.
Right.
And they didn't have one that existed. So every term she buys, orders the books from us to use in the preschool. So that was kind of like, you know, a good acknowledgement that, oh, okay, this is good. And we're doing this from practical experience because we're using this to teach our own kids, basically. So we created these books, I think like about 6 or 7 of them, and we had them learned how to get your book up on Amazon, how to get paid for it.
I understand you know to do that in a half an hour. No? You know how to publish a book on Amazon in half an hour?
Yes, I can. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
We will talk soon. In a couple of years. Yeah, when I put out my book and I write to publish, because I was going to pay somebody else a lot of money.
Oh, but even before the publishing is half an hour, but then you have to create the manuscript.
Yeah, no,
So,
I'll handle
so you
the
have the
manuscript.
manuscript already. Okay,
No,
you
I
have the
will. I will
manuscript.
handle the manuscript already.
Okay, okay.
I
Because
have
it
my
will have to
ideas
be a
and things.
certain format and page
I have the format.
size
I have the format.
and to upload to Amazon, right? Because you could be going back and forth for weeks.
I have the format. I need to put out the content and everything. But yeah, when I'm ready, I'll check you and let me get that done in a half an hour. What I'll pay for the half an hour because the price people want to charge me.
I wonder why.
But all right, so I mean, thank you for that. Is like, you know, the thing about this interview like this, Jay, is like we don't even have to ask many questions. She
I know.
she
Sorry.
started from 2000.
Okay. Let me
She started from 2000 and she reached pandemic. I was like, ooh.
And I was trying to speed it up. You know, I was trying to speed it up.
No, but I like that. So I mean, just before we move on from the media aspect of your career, you know, noting that you got a couple awards in 2017, 2007, and everything. I think you'll be the right person just to advise. Like, what if there's an up and coming Samantha John or Sammy Joe or well, whatever the person wants to call themselves at a point in time. What if there's an up and coming young lady who wants to go through the media space, wants to even build her own media business or so? Like, how would you advise that person? What's the first 4 things they need to do
nowadays? Because, you know, it's changed a lot and I embrace it and I'm all for it. It's that make sure they you know, you can be found on all the platforms.
Yes.
All the social media platforms. I'll say that first. I do know the media houses are personally checking platforms before they hire people. They are checking your socials to see, you know, your numbers, how many followers you have, if you have a fan base already, you know, they're not going through the whole recruiting process basically to build somebody up.
Okay.
Right? They want somebody to come and be able to share some of their audience with them or bring some of their audience with them. That's like a main thing. Because I've been on the side of searching for talent and recruiting. So I know that's what they're looking for. They not necessarily anymore need you to come broadcast ready, as in having broadcast experience, because the skills are transferable. So my online videos are, I would say they're strong videos because of my broadcasting skills. I know a lot about delivery, eye contact, you know, voice control, inflections, you know, just communication via the camera lens. But it's transferable there. But for the people who are already on social media, they know those skills. They maybe don't have any formal training, but they're already utilizing those skills. So that now becomes transferable to the radio stations. If it's a TV station, if it's a radio station, and these days the radio stations are trying to be visual with social media. So it's no longer that we used to have a joke, you have a face for radio, which used to mean you have a face not to be seen, but you have a nice voice. But now to be a radio presenter, you have to be nice enough to be seen.
Yeah.
Right? So that, you know, that's going to be a given. So there's no longer that line, do you have a face for radio? It's, you know, it doesn't work like that anymore. So if you already have those transferable skills to want to be in the traditional media, it's going to be a plus if you do take a short course or if you do take a course online just to learn some basics. Besides just the skill part, I like people to learn and actually understand the business of any industry that they're getting into.
Yep.
You know, don't just focus on, oh, this is my job. I am the radio announcer and I don't need to figure out how anything else in here works.
Right.
If you isolate yourself, if you do that to yourself, you are really cutting your career like really, really short, because it's an ecosystem. The person that puts the ads on the computer is just as important as you. Ads pay the bills, they pay all the staff. The person that cleans the studio is just as important as the person that's press and record, or the person who's operating the camera. It's like it's always a team effort. And just thinking you only have to do your job and not understand or care about what the other person does or the person comes after you or before you does, you're not going to have a long career. because that is just going to, it's just going to, show you in like a selfish way, and you're never going to learn. And you need to learn the business. You have to learn the business to figure out how things work. And when you learn the business, you also learn the politics of the business. That is how, and the politics is important because that's how you have a long-lasting career. It's not, it's just survival. It's anywhere you go, everybody has a culture. So everybody operates in a different way. So you need to be flexible in that way that, you go to one media house, this is how they operate, this is the culture of this media house. You go somewhere else, they operate like this. And again, this will be you not isolating yourself, you coming out of your bubble, you mingling with your co-workers, you learning about the culture, being involved with them. So I would say, and I think these are more humans, like, human type skills that you have to bring into the workplace to do really well in this career. I don't know, that's 3 or that's 4 or that's 5.
I mean, that's enough. I think you really, hit it home. So anyone who is trying to get into the space, they understand, the basics, and I think more than the basics, So you were saying that your policies helped you weather the storm, basically.
Yeah.
Was that the reason why you decided to get into this industry? Because journalism, radio, TV, that's been your baby. That's been your first love since you're 10 years old or even before.
Right.
Why at 25 you decide to now get into financial services? Get into the insurance industry.
1, 2 + 5.
I kind of did so much, and some people might have say a short space of time. Doing hosting stuff, it's doing
Listen, you come from FM radio.
Yeah.
AM. To TikTok.
Or was Gamma radio.
FM radio to TikTok, and you're still young. How you do that?
I did so much voicing, hosting, acting. Yeah. I just felt like I did everything. I didn't know what else I could do again. And as I said, people like everybody knows you, but you don't know anybody. And as I say, you're always in the studio. Being a radio presenter is not even more isolated. You're just in this room by yourself with your microphone and these padded walls, and you're talking to yourself for like 3 hours. This is like pure madness. And it was, it was like, I just, I felt like I did it all. So, the last stint was talk radio. I never even thought I would have done talk radio. So I did talk radio. So I did everything. I did urban, I did rock, I did pop rock, I did religious, I did talk radio, I did news, I did entertainment news, I did a magazine type show. It's like, I basically just felt that it was time to do something else. I started to do the books and the content creation online, and it was like really enjoying that process, going down the rabbit hole, figuring out how content creators think, learning about SEO, figuring out about Google, about the algorithms, because remember, I'm a technical person as well. So, I want to know about that.
Even the business. You built your own websites already?
Yeah, I was always building websites since like 2006.
And you teach people how to code and stuff?
No, I don't teach people how to code because they have all the platforms there. Right, but I would say this last website that I built, I decided, so this is like just like media. I decided to let people into my space, right? And one of the people that I let into my space was Karen Rose. And it's like I would have never done that in the past. I would never like reach out to somebody and say, hey, can you work with me? I would just like stay in my space and my bubble and just try to figure out everything by myself. Right. Even if it took me too long or kept me up at night and I didn't have time for anything else, I'll just get engrossed and overwhelmed with it. And Karen was I decided to change things. And he was one of the people I decided that, he's going to be one of the first people that I'm going to like let into my circle. Okay. And, kind of like crack through this media shell that I had all the time of just doing everything solo. That website that he helped me design was one that I was planning because during that stage, I was actually in the process of getting my insurance license. It takes a while. It took about 7 months. to go through the process. You have to do some training, you have to do some courses, you have to work with a manager. So it's not very quick. You have to get vetted.
Right.
And they rang me through the ringer.
Okay. I can imagine.
Basically.
Can well imagine.
So yeah. So basically it was that who was my now manager recruited me, asked me if I would have been interested. And I was just like, why not? This kind of just is like the path that I'm on, dealing with finances, because I've wanted to talk about financial freedom and teach people about their money for a long time. But why would they listen to me? Just like that, but I was like learning it for a long time. I didn't have a circle who, if I decided to start talking about that with them, was interested in hearing what I was going to say. So I really did need to figure out where this audience would have been. So there was, for a while, I was trying to do it. So I had Up to Speed for a little while. That was like a news channel. And then I tried to switch it to I was doing Forex updates to kind of get like that whole money theme going there. But really and truly, I was like, I didn't really have any direction on exactly how to explain this. And then when I got the insurance offer and when I started to prepare for getting my license on how I would present myself, it's just like everything just fell into place. I knew exactly what I wanted to say. I knew what I wanted to talk about. I mean, I have like tons of ideas, like scribbled all over the place. Half of them haven't even executed yet, basically. And it was so amazing because, when you think about it, it's like people was like, what are you going to talk about insurance? It's going to be so boring. How long can you talk about this for? It's like, you're going to like run out of ideas. And it's like, I haven't even reached close to that yet because I just feel like there's so much to be said. When I do get people inquiring about some of the things I've discussed in my video, I feel really useful to them because they are really, really stumped something. And a couple of them have said that to me. I've spoken to agents before and they've made me feel like I'm stupid because I was asking questions. And I'm trying to figure out in my mind, why would somebody who is going to be spending their hard-earned money get that inferior feeling at all to discuss where is their money going? How does it benefit them? So it was like, it's been an interesting journey and I do feel very useful for that, useful to be doing it. I had people asking, why did you leave the media? What made you leave the media and do insurance? But the thing is, I think people haven't noticed is that I have been on a very long break, like about 6 years away from media. For a lot of people,
Technically, I mean, you were doing that thing on 106.5. You were a content
106,
consultant.
yeah.
You're a content consultant for the radio station. I mean, that's media.
But they're talking about TV. They're talking about TV, and they kind of mention it like it's yesterday.
Yeah.
Like so the confusion is like, yeah, but I stopped doing this like 7 years ago. Something
yeah, but
like that.
you were Trinidad sweetheart for years. That's what the news anchors usually looked at, right? Especially as a woman, you looked at. You're the one bringing the news. You're the one, I mean, a large cross section of the population locking into you at 7 o'clock every day. Nobody.
But I just saying, it's just that I'm on this journey a long time. And for people, they look like like I just sprung it on them, like it's been all of a sudden.
Yeah.
But it's been like in a long time in the making, basically. And I was just saying, it's now it's now brought itself into like being an agent, and it's like it's actually a very exciting process because it's the first time like I have to do a lot of training, a lot of schooling, and there are like so many levels you could get to and so much more work you could do. It's just what you decide you want to do when you start to do it. So it's kind of interesting being challenged.
So you have to do your FLMI and your LOMA and all that?
I haven't been presented with those just yet, but I guess at some point.
I did FLMI and LOMA and all that.
Oh my gosh. And how does the brain work? I'm trying to like moisten my brain so that I could absorb all this information.
Yeah, it's not too hard, man. I sure you get it. So what I'm seeing you doing though, you're actually taking a different approach to most insurance agents I've seen, where you're actually now using your media training and your media background to bring forth that insurance information. I think that is what, even when Kevin was like, "Who's next?" Well, I thought of you because I was seeing you so you were you were you were so not visual as you were looking for you, but you sort of stood out.
She was
You
always top
know,
of mind, yes.
yeah, you stood out with what you were doing, and this was different. You know, it's like, listen, the podcast is about value, and I mean, you've built value and then destroyed it and built new value because you built value in your brand. You know, you were Samantha John. That was a brand that everybody knew. Then you changed it. Then you were Sammy Joe. That's another brand that people knew, Samantha Best. So you know you keep, and now you're building value again. So, well, I think, and I want to get your opinion, that using your media background, that you could actually now do some of the things you love, but to with a purpose, because you were saying like, well, I was doing some of these things online and I didn't really have direction, but I feel now like you could actually now do that content, still do media, but in a way you like, and for a purpose in the sense of educating others and also earning an income and building your new business, which is being an insurance agent. You know, is that sort of your thinking? Is that your intent?
Actually, it wasn't my intent. It just happened naturally because those are my strongest skills. So it's like, okay, obviously, yeah, it's sales you're doing, so you have to generate leads. So I was just like, gosh, I am not comfortable with the cold calling. What
Right.
can I do instead, right? Because I'm being honest. It's like I'm just not comfortable. I don't know how somebody will be like, "Oh, this is Samantha John." They probably will think it's a joke, right? It's like, who's this person?
Who's this?
Who's this
Blaze, they
for?
blaze.
So I was just like, no, because I was like, same thing. I'm known if I do the calls, it might work, it may not work, it may cause some confusion. So I didn't want to jump at that one time. But when you get your license, it's go.
Right.
So I had to figure out a go. And I'm going to be honest, because my husband is my cameraman and my production studio and whatever. And he was just like bugging me for like about a month. He's like, when are you going to make a video?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. It's like, I don't feel to make one. And he's like, no, you have to do it. And he kept bugging me and he kept bugging me and he kept bugging me. And it's just like one day I was like, you know what? Enough procrastinating. Just set up your lights and stuff and whatever. And let's just make a video. And, I did a video and the response it was really, really good. And by this time, because I had done so much online content, I had already created a system for making content. So it's like, I don't have to make a video every day and burn out myself. Because I'm still learning the whole insurance process and making sure I learn about the products and attending all the classes and all the sessions. So to also be in production, it will just have to be something that can fit into the routine.
Yeah.
But the journey of making online content, like during the pandemic, it's like I have no problem fitting it into the routine. So I make my long form content and I make shorter, I chop it up into smaller pieces. I had already and maybe I posted on my website. So I have the whole ecosystem like built already. And it's just about producing the content. Sometimes I have planned stuff and then I just feel like, you know what? I feel like I want to talk about this because I think it will resonate a little more. And then maybe on the fly, I'll probably change something on the fly. But basically, it's more planned out and it's all, yes, encompassed with production skills, the content consultation stuff that I did for Freedom, and basically just making a system or a routine to get it done. And it just, as you're saying, it's just was not intentional. It's just something that's been happening naturally. And a few people pointed it out to me when somebody like they were trying to encourage some other agents to make videos. And they said, yes, but Samantha's using a skill that she has, so it's easy for her.
Yeah.
So, you don't necessarily want to distract somebody who's uncomfortable doing it. When they might actually be strong with being on the field and talking to people in person versus putting on their phone and uploading a video. So I think for everybody it might be a little bit different. No, not that you can't, you should do everything as much as you can, because it's like a hybrid system. But yes, mainly it's because it's just like, it's a skills of building for like 20 plus years. So, as I said, they're transferable.
All right, excellent. So yes, I definitely see. This strategy to me is a winning strategy. I think it's just a matter of time, but I think it's just a winning strategy because this is how people consume information now, right? They consume information in short form, TikTok, Instagram, what have you. So you're able now to speak to so many people without having, so you don't have to go and take out an ad in the papers and pay $6,000 a full page and say, contact me, Samantha Best for you. You don't have to do those things. So it seems as though you have I don't want to say an easy path, but you have some sort of competitive advantage to your colleagues.
Yeah,
You
because she
think
built her
so?
own platform. She built her own
Yeah, you
platform
do.
that
I
people
mean,
already
Okay.
go to.
You might
Yeah.
have some colleagues who might be active in football or active in some kind of some certain social circles, but I don't think they could have the kind of reach that you could have based on that ecosystem you've built, your knowledge, your experience. I think
Okay.
you have a winning formula. So
Well, okay. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that
yeah,
you
you
that you
have a winning formula. And the funny thing is, you'll be able to reach out to persons not only in Trinidad, but there are people who live outside of Trinidad but have business in Trinidad. And if I do live outside Trinidad, I was gonna say if.
Yeah, I'm
But if
waiting for your call, Jason, so we could
Huh?
talk. I'm waiting for your call so we could talk.
But if I live outside Trinidad and I'm looking for an agent, I'm not seeing the Express, the Guardian. I'm not listening to local radio. The only content I'm seeing from locally would be, I guess, what's on social media. And I think in the insurance agent space with regards to social media, I think you're dominating. Who else? No, who else? Think about it. Which other insurance agents actually
Yeah,
do
I don't know. Because I mean,
this?
all I just see is like some people will add me on LinkedIn, and in the LinkedIn request, they'll be like, "Hey, what do you order? I'm a financial advisor, this, that," and I'll be like, "Oh, God, no, no, no," because
Yeah.
it's almost equivalent to a cold call. But what
Mhm.
Samantha is doing, she is doing what we call inbound marketing, right? So she is
Yeah.
creating content. So when you're searching for a particular thing, you might okay if I'm searching for what's the benefits of Keyman insurance, because I might have a business and the brains behind the business might be a little older, might be my health might be a challenge, whatever it is. So I might be looking at Keyman insurance. If I Google Keyman insurance in Trinidad and Samantha's 6-minute video pops up, I say,
Exactly.
okay, I wanna learn more. And I click onto Samantha best.life/contact and I book an appointment with her. But that's just me walking through a natural process in a very seamless manner that takes me less time than it takes Samantha to publish a book on Amazon, which is half an hour. So just making a customer journey easier and
Yep.
less frustrating, and it's more like the customer coming to her rather
Yeah.
than she chasing down the customer.
And you made a valid point. You're actually making the customer journey, and that's what customers want, right? They want to be able to listen. I've gotten the information. The person who has passed on the information to me, who has that knowledge, well, I can reach them easily. It's easy. I could click on a button, book an appointment. Yeah, I think it's an excellent strategy, and definitely using modern technology. And the reality is, what you're doing, Samantha, this is what the major organizations do. This is what the big businesses in the US, the Microsofts, the whoever, this is exactly what they do. They put out content, get people interested. That person will then go to the site. They get more information. They book a appointment, and that's it. So I think that you are actually doing world class, best in class. So it's just to keep doing it. Just to keep doing it.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, I was thinking as the experts, you could have given me, and if I have any gaps.
Yeah, and we can look at it, but what you're doing too is not very typical in Trinidad, because in Trinidad, in acquiring services, sometimes it's friction. You want to spend your money, and it's a hassle sometimes. Sometimes you're trying to pay, but we don't take credit card, no, but we don't take debit card, no, the cashier, oh, this, like, I'm trying to give you money. Oh, no, we don't deliver, no, you have to come for it. Oh, no, we only have a branch in Shoguanas, Bam and Port-au-Spain. Well, you gotta come down Shoguanas. We're on the main road. So it's just like so much friction sometimes, and I think that is something that is so important. And all that is adding value to your business, right? How do I make how do I bring awareness of my business or what I'm offering and make it easy for those wishing to acquire my services, make it as easy and frictionless as possible for them. So yeah, so I know we are
100%.
speaking about media, but at the end of the day, this podcast is about business and value, right? So
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
I
we talk
like
about
that. Yeah.
value of using media,
I know.
of
Yeah,
using media properly.
Kevin just wants to lean on the media. You know that.
No, I like
look,
I like the slants. I like the slants. Also what I really love about this conversation we had tonight is that your family started off in insurance, and here we are full circle. You're
yeah.
back in the insurance industry. I think that's really awesome. Now
And
I know we didn't.
agencies. You'll have your own agency soon.
Yeah, just know she got built at the bottom of her house, right? So I know we didn't get a chance to talk much about your book, but I want to give you a little opportunity to plug your book. So you have the Balance Block Method. Again, it's a guide to improve time management and productivity. I want you to just tell us about the impetus behind you writing that book, and perhaps maybe we could just discuss a few things on your balance success checklist. That's also
Oh
the
yes,
principles behind that book.
you have the right. So
I must have the things. What are you taking this? Media,
Oh God.
Trying to see if the radio will want to hire me. I'll just put my hands down.
So the book was actually, something that was an idea, and that little note jotted down for a long time. Because remember, I said we uploading onto Amazon, and we were using pen names. So I didn't use my name or anything. So we have pen names for the children's books because I just didn't feel like I was brave enough to put myself out there as an author, an illustrator. So I kind of kept that quiet. So we were home in lockdown. We were already homeschooling the kids before. We were making content with the kids, in a very stressful time and whatever came out. So, we have little notes jotted down about how to manage your time. Because we have like some family, they were also trying to make content, and they kept coming to us and saying, you know what, if you offer a course on how you're consistently making content, even though the kids are home and you're working from home, that they would definitely sign up for that. So it was just like kind of like ideas maybe for the course, and just making some points, and I have the notes and stuff there. The first journey with the books that we did that were coloring books and handwriting books is that journey to create the manuscripts to upload onto Amazon was very strenuous. It was almost like that burnt us out, basically, because I just went down the rabbit hole on my own, trying to figure it out and resizing pages every day and going back and forth. Every Amazon saying, no, it's rejected, and then you have to go back again and do it. And then I was like, you know what, if I just do a book with just words, this might be way easier than doing any images. So I was just like, okay, but I have a lot of ideas. Which idea would I use? So I took a break because I went by Freedom 106.5 FM. That's a talk station, as an announcer for like 6 or 7 months. And around that 6-month mark, they asked me to be a content consultant for the station, which was behind the scenes, coordinate all the interviews, work with the graphic staff, basically a lot of little teams I had to coordinate with to get marketing information out there, and book guests and stuff and get them into the station for things to be executed. Use some of my TV skills with that to create things like rundowns on the back end for the presenters and for interviewees. And it was overwhelming. It was like, because I'm homeschooling, I'm working remotely, so I'm doing this from home. And it was extremely overwhelming. It was like, and to do it, I also felt like I needed to train some of my colleagues in how to manage their time. Because where I was trying to contain my work, which I think was only fair, between the hours of 8 to 4, Monday to Friday, people were working like around the clock. So you'll get WhatsApp messages 9 o'clock in the night, on the weekends, and I still need time for my family. So this is where I believe in the balance. I believe in the balance, and I try to make stress to a couple of them that the only reason you're working on the weekend is because we're disorganized, and that if we were more organized during the week, we could get more done, and it would not cross over into our private lives. And I really try to stress that, I believe in the balance. I need time with my family. I'm homeschooling my kids and I'm doing the work. And that the actual, I was actually getting a little stressed because, every time the phone ding, it's a message about work, no matter day or time. I actually had to do where I stop looking at my phone, get separate numbers, put a phone in the drawer, like when I needed just a reset because
you
it
can silence the
yeah.
notifications too.
But then I couldn't even look at my own social media because other stuff were popping up, right? So so that, and I started saying, you know what, let me finish this book, because the book is actually the method that I use, like, to organize myself, because I was always told with the functions that I was doing as a content consultant by one of my superiors that I was like the most organized person she's ever met. And it was basically because I have a method. And the method is basically where I kind of block task together. That's why it's a balance block. So I block task like maybe 20 minutes. And then I take like a 5-minute break. Basically. And I kind of do that with all the tasks that I want to perform like throughout the day.
Is there
But
a
it
Spanish
also,
word for that, like Pomodoro or something like that?
but the Pomodoro it's similar, but it's different because
Okay.
they either, I think they increase the time and they increase the breaks, and then they
Okay.
also do it like a task or a task from prioritization to their tasks. So theirs is a little more complicated, and I just wanted mine to be like really simple, where I just did 20 minutes or 15 minutes, because it's basically what I explained is that it's totally up to you how long you want that working block to be, right? Like some people would do like prefer 15. I found like when I do 30 minutes, it feels a little too strenuous. So I might do 20 minutes for the most.
Okay.
And then I restrict it to a 5-minute break. But I mean, my thoughts about it is that it's more flexible. So it's however you feel. So you work on and you take the break. And you just do that like within the hours that you really want to function, basically. But it's also built on the fact that I totally believe in living a balanced life, that you need to take breaks. And when I mean breaks, not like a 5-minute break, spend some time with your family, close your laptop, and go outside and take a walk, have a beach day if you need to, even if it has to be during the week, just to break the routine. Make sure that you eat well, you exercise, you rest well, and that's where the whole balance block method comes from. That it's a holistic approach to managing your time.
Samantha, I looked at the checklist, right? And eating 5 servings of fruits and vegetables every day. I mean, Kevin, I know about you. That's something like I have to be vegan or vegetarian to be able to achieve that.
I eat so much vegetables.
Kevin, you?
Well, no, I mean, sometimes the burger will come with some lettuce.
Yes.
When they go to buy grill for you and you order some, when they go by the fast food place and you order some fries and some chicken, they might put a little green salad inside.
I remember fries or potatoes, right?
And
Yeah,
fries
right.
and potatoes, those are from the earth, So, I'll have that.
I created that checklist and I can't even remember what's on it, right?
Yeah, I have it right if you're ready.
Did you try it out? Did you try it? How many did you check off?
Okay, exercise for at least 30 minutes every day. I exercise maybe 3 to 4 times a week, but for longer than 30 minutes. 8 glasses of water, I mean, it varies.
Yeah.
5
it could
servings
vary.
of fruits and veg, no. But but I mean, again, I do intermittent fasting sometimes.
Oh, I do that as well.
Right. So exactly, right. So meditate for 10 minutes every day. Sometimes I just be in silence for 10 minutes, just laying down. Write down 3 things you're grateful for every day.
Wait,
I can do better with that.
3 things? Come on.
No, I could think of 3 things,
okay,
but they say that I actively write it down every day. Not necessarily. Read for 30 minutes every day. Easy.
Nice.
Yeah, even if I don't want to, I'm always, because I'm always working, right? I'm always working, I'm always researching things. So yeah, I read for 30 minutes every day. Unless you mean like leisure reading, like I don't know, like a novel.
Anything. I was saying, education, entertainment,
Okay. Well, it's not like I have to read a novel, just put on everything else, just read a novel. create a budget and stick to it. I need to do better with that. Save at least 20% of your income every month. Well, I'm an entrepreneur, right? So if I am to get income every month, I'm trying to get to that position where every month income comes in. So when I do get income, well, we'll see how long we'll make that last. We'll do what we have to do with that. Invest in a retirement account.
I think he has a lot of excuses for every point on the checklist.
I'm going through the list.
Being real, right?
Invest in a retirement account or mutual fund. Oh, by the way, audience, we will have a link to this Banner Success checklist in these show notes, so you guys could download for yourselves and take a look. All right, so invest in a retirement account or mutual fund, yes. So now career. Set achievable career goals, yes. Attend networking events, yes. Learn a new skill every month. Yeah. Relationships. Spend quality time with loved ones every week. I could do better with this. Express appreciation to someone you care about every day. Yeah. Practice active listening in all the interactions. Yeah, I do podcasting and all these things. Peace of mind. Review your insurance coverage annually.
You should annually, yes.
Compare prices and coverage options for your insurance policies. Yeah. I'm actually in the process of doing that. Anyway, meet with an insurance agent to discuss your needs and options. Well, I'm going to do that soon because I'm switching my insurance coverage.
Well,
so yes, soon
Kevin, where it says insurance agent, that's a clickable link.
Yeah, it's a clickable link for Samantha. Best of life, I'm sure.
So it's very easy to be to the insurance agent.
Oh, is it a clickable link? I'm checking. I can't even remember.
It is.
Oh, fantastic. I'm doing that's very efficient.
Yes. Samantha, best.life/insurance-agent.
Yes.
Boom.
So that's what we said, Samantha. You make it frictionless to be able to speak to someone. So I go through this checklist and I want more information. Boom, I just click a link. I don't have to stress. I get sent straight to the page. Excellent.
Nice. I would say, guys, I set that up so long ago. I don't even remember.
And that's value.
You're
creating value and it's evergreen. So something, and that's it. And with your content, that's what you're doing, right? Because a lot of the content videos you're making now, 5 years from now, people will be contacting you. Hey, Samantha. And then you would say, well, okay, speak to my assistant because I'm really busy, right?
I don't know.
Yes.
Let me say 5 years from now, I'll check you back and we'll see.
Oh, boy. All right. Samantha, this has been fantastic. Really enjoyed listening to your story, listening to your journey, and taking up all the lessons and gems along the way. Is there anything that we have not covered that you would want to ensure that you leave our audience with?
I feel like we've covered everything, but I would like to say to the audience that if you feel you're ready to take a financial freedom journey, you definitely want to get in contact with me. There's no obligation to buy. So I could just have a discussion with you and answer your questions. And if I don't have the answer, I will definitely search for it.
And where can the audience find you? Where can they reach you? How can they reach you?
They can find me on all the platforms and my website, SamanthaBest.life.
Jason, where can we find you?
You can find me so many places. Jason Paul Valley, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter. Just look for me. And if you have any questions about your business, you just want someone to bounce ideas off of, I'm always interested and keen about speaking on businesses. You learn so much when you speak to everyone in business. You just learn so much. So I'm always open to learning by having conversations.
Podcast world, there you have it. The Media Way with Samantha Best. Subscribe to The Value at thevalue.show/subscribe. Leave us a voice note to be played on the next episode. Leave us a 5-star review. And check us out on your podcast player of choice, be it Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Castbox, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And with that, Podcast World, Cabin Studios, we are out.